This house has a $100 a day lien on it that started on October 1st. I still haven't received a picture or a letter describing why and how, under what authority. Did it happen in an open meeting? Did it happen in an executive meeting? Who pulled the trigger on this? Who made the call? You ruined my Christmas. To anybody that's on the board or part of AAM, if it was your intent to ruin my Christmas, I want to let you know you did. You did, okay? And right now I live, this is why I'm making these videos, is to let everyone know out in YouTube land just the science of equity theft that exists in a HOA, that their lawyers that they employ are specialists in collections and foreclosures. It's a science to them, okay? I am the perfect specimen, the perfect target to attach a $100 a day fine to. I own the house outright, okay? I don't have any bills, and I have money. I have a little nest egg, and interest rates are starting to go up, and the housing market is going down. So it's a perfect time to steal my equity. This is equity theft on a very sophisticated stage. All right, I'm the perfect candidate because I'm 74 years old. I've called my own shots all my life. I've been single all my life. I've never had children. I've had a lot of live-in relationships with a lot of women, and I've had a few girlfriends that I've been very close to. It's almost like being married to them, how close you got to them, emotionally understanding. But this house right now, it's the middle of March, or the middle of February, so that has grown since October 1st to probably $8,000 to $9,000. I used to own all three of these houses. I bought this one first. And the market was very slow. This was 2003. I put a contract on this house on December 7th of 2003. About a month and a half after I saw these lots for the first time. And the sales office was right here. There's a putting green here. That used to be the interior design center. Okay, it was the layout for, might have been my model, but this was a model that was the sales office, and the way it was plumbed and wired and everything else, it really wasn't set up as a home. It was set up, but this was a model. And they ended up selling it to my friend who visited from California. When she saw what I bought and for how much and where I was, she immediately called the sales office and said to them, whenever you're ready to sell that property and you're done with it, call me and I'll buy it. And that's exactly what happened. They moved all this, these was all phase one on the front nine. They sold all these models, but everything was a model. Okay, that was a sales office, that was a model, that was a model, that was a model, that was a model. These, I think, were models, might have been. But these were all models. You went into the sales office, and this was all parking lot. All these houses right here, they weren't here. It was all parking lot. There was nothing here. Okay? I want to tell you, right here, nothing. Nothing. Wide open desert, okay? Everything here was wide open. This is the emergency center. They have a helicopter pad here. That's Abrazo, West Valley Medical Center. The ambulances come in here, and the helicopters here. They can triage you and fly you wherever you need. And it's just a half a mile off I-10. Right there. And I want to show you, there's a huge difference. This is no longer here. Okay, what I mean is it's been upgraded, huge. It's been upgraded. This is a 10-year-old picture. And 10 years ago when I was driving to the airport every day, and even the earlier pictures of this, there was no run out here. You better have it timed right. By the time you get to the end of this thing, you had about maybe 50 yards of run out here to merge with traffic that was heavy duty. You got to understand, this is the yellow brick road between LA and Phoenix, LA and Tucson. So there's a lot of commerce and trucks go over that road. Now, getting back to the 3 houses that I bought. On the day that I closed these 3 houses, it took a year, almost a year, before these 3 houses were completely in my name. December 7th, I put the money down on that. And this house was bought for cash. And the agreement was 5 equal payments of $150 approximately. And we're going to start building it. Okay? And which I agreed to on December 7th. So I locked in this lot and this house on December 7th. I had picked a different model. I picked a different model first. I wanted this model, but when I realized that I wouldn't have a patio across the back, you got to understand, this is the signature hole, the par 3 signature hole for Sundance. And it's the only lake on the course. And this is high ground overlooking the lake. When I first saw this, I was in the sales office. Okay? I was in that sales office when I first saw it, and my friend, when we were looking at the overall map for the area, and you got to understand, this was right after 9/11. This 9/11 was what? 9/11 of 11, so it was 2 years and a month after 9/11. And the economy was kind of slow, especially out here in Buckeye. But the first time I ever laid eyes on this over here was in the sales office. They had a guy working in the sales office that day that was all alone, by himself. He probably didn't see 2 or 3 people all day. You got to understand, Buckeye 20 years ago, there was nothing here. Okay, none of these houses, like I said, these neighborhoods, none of the houses were built. This was basically, from here, like I said, down to here was just open parking lot. But the first time I laid eyes on it was when my friend who gave me a ride out here from the airport to look at the houses, when when he asked the salesman, he goes, "What do you got for houses?" My friend just got on a plane up in San Francisco. He's got money. He can buy one more or less for cash. What do you got? What do you got that's for sale? He wants a house on a golf course, like the sign says out on the road, $99,000 for a house on the golf course. Let's see what you got. And all the guy could show me was a few lots down here and a few lots down here, more or less phase one, like through here and through here. Like this was one of the original phases right here on this side. Some of the original houses. So there wasn't much left. You know, when he told me on the phone, "You're going to be able to buy a house right on the golf course." Well, I looked, and it seemed like all the good lots were gone. Everything that was left was like in here or whatever. So my friend challenged him. You know, he got more or less said to him, "I know you got more than these. You're going to have how many houses out here?" And, you know, like 1,100. Well, where's the rest? Where's the other lots? And the guy says, "Well, we do have other ones, but I can't show them to you now." So my buddy went over to the table, and if you can imagine, the table was laid out just like this, and there was a placard, a gray placard over all these lots. All these had a gray placard on them. And my friend, you know, he had picked me up at the airport, driven me out here. We expected to see a lot more choices, and to have this guy say, "I can't show you anymore." And the fella said, where are the best lots? And the guy said, "Well, you see that placard over there? You see where the lake is on the board? Yeah. If you pick up that triangle right there," he says, "I consider those the best lots on the course. But we can't sell them to you yet. We haven't got the occupancy permits. Until we get all the infrastructure done, we can't sell them to you. I can't even offer you for sale." And my buddy immediately, and he says, "So where are they?" And the guy said, "Well, if you turn around," he goes, "if you turn around," which we were in here, and he goes, "you look across the lake. You see that bank that sits above the lake?" He goes, "I consider those as the best lots on the course." He goes, "You're overlooking the lake on the signature hole. More or less, you're half a mile from the yellow brick road." And I have to add, I have been kicked out of the HOA, any meetings. My key card's been, I can't do anything. I can't go in there or anything else like that. When I go in there, they assign a pit bull to me to follow me wherever I go. 2 pit bulls to be a witness and follow me wherever I go, so I don't talk to anybody, or I can't talk to anybody. But getting back to this house, I closed that house in the end of August, and I closed these 2 houses on the 13th of October. 13th of October. That's like Black Friday, Friday the 13th. That's when they went after all the Knights Templars. It was like the night of long knives for the Knights Templar back in Paris in the 17 or 1800s, where a king went after the Knights Templar because they got so strong. Well, they did it on the 13th of October. Okay? So that's the day I closed these 2 houses. And there was nothing. These houses might have been in work, but there was maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe at the most 8 or 9 houses that were closed and the rest were in work, or they hadn't sold lots yet. But this first house, I put $2,000 down on Pearl Harbor Day, 2003. And with the agreement that within a month or so you're going to bring us another $28,000 for your initial $30,000 payment. And I signed everything, yeah, okay, I'll do that, and I agreed to it. So when I came down at Christmas, I had flying benefits with United Airlines, so I used to fly down here a lot. My friend would pick me up and we'd come out here and play golf. The first thing we'd do is jump in the car and come out here, and I'd look at what the progress of the house, and then him and I would go play golf at Sundance and take advantage of their $16 buffet where you could play golf all day for $16 and have a buffet all day. And then we'd go to the bar at night for libations and have even more fun after getting cooked out here in the sun. But I had all these by the middle, on the 13th of October 2004, all these became mine. I signed for them that day. On about the 13th of November, well, I want to go back. After signing my life away for these two houses, I owned this one cash because I paid for it with the final installment on August 31st. And then these were on loans. These were Meritage Mortgage Company. Their mortgage, they had their own in-house mortgage company, and I dealt with this girl named Priest, or something like Priest, her last name. And she was very cordial on the phone, and she got the loans for me and everything else. And another thing I did is when I first got the houses in my possession, I went and paid off the sidewalk assessment. Every one of these houses, when you buy them, there's a sidewalk or a residual sidewalk assessment that hasn't been paid off, that has to be paid off. The first thing I did is go in and pay off the sidewalk assessments. That could have been as much as $8,000 or $9,000. I don't remember. And then I spent $15,000 plus on these solar panels for each house. And one thing about these solar systems right here, even though this array looks different than these arrays, these are 3 matched systems. They're both 3.2 kilowatts and they have the same inverters, they have the same panels, everything is exactly the same on all 3 systems except the serial numbers. Each one was 15,000 plus that I picked up. So I have a lot of money invested here. I'm really involved. But what the problem was when I first got here, and I'm going to try to, this is going to pause, but I'm going to try to get another map up here of the tax map. We're going to see if I can get the Arizona tax map up. So I got to get out of this. We'll let the thing run. With this Maricopa County tax map. Let's see. Here we go. And we're going to have about maybe 7 or 8 years of now, the information you can pull up on this tax map, we've got it blown up all the way, is like, who's the owner? From 2012. We're going to start in 2012. 2013. So 2013, we should get an idea of what it looks like here. All right, there's 2013. My beef, I'm going to leave that up. I don't know how to get rid of this. We can get rid of that. Can we get rid of that? All right. My beef, and the reason I'm being fined for my house, and we can go out. Let's go out first and see how much this was built up. Okay. We had 13, we had a Abrazo came in, but this is where Goodwill is. That wasn't built up. So there's a Abrazo. Abrazo came in before, and here this was all built after I got here. You got to understand, I closed the houses out in 2004. But what I want to show you is one of my beefs with the golf course, the sales office, Meritage, is what I thought I bought. Okay? None of this was finished when he told me that there wasn't a house here. Okay? There wasn't a house here. When he told me, we can't sell you a house yet because none of the infrastructure has been done. We have to put in all the civil requirements, all the drainage and the lights and everything else like that. The streets were in, the street lighting was in, and they had decided they had all the pads in. I think they had all the pads in. So all the pads were in, more or less, and, or might not have been. But anyway, when I ordered this model here, about a week later I realized I'm on the signature hole. I don't want a half a patio where I can't see the green on my hair. And the part of the thing was, if you want, we only sell one kind of patio on a house. And if, say you want that, when I said, what can I do? They said, well, you're going to have to build that later. That's not part of the thing. We don't even offer that for an option. You're going to have to hire somebody later to do that. Okay? So I said, well, can I change it to this model? I don't like it as much as this model. This model's got a big walk-in pantry. It's a big open space between the kitchen and the living room. It's open space. That's the model I wanted, but I wanted to take advantage of this view from my patio. So they allowed me to, but we'll go out here. Let's see what was built in. See all this? This is all built in now. Okay, all this stuff is built in now. It wasn't built in then. The place is growing like crazy. This is all the back nine. This is your pro shop, your bar. The 19th hole is there. There's the clubhouse. That's the adult center, where I haven't been allowed in there in 4 years because of my point of view, but you will learn later. But this is the driving range. This is the first hole, second hole, third hole, fourth hole, and fifth hole, and then this is the par 3 signature hole. So I got here early, and by 2004, like 9 years before this picture was taken, in 9 years they filled all this out. We can't go back any farther. Okay? Now, but I want to show you why I have been challenging the golf course. I've been challenging the HOA. I try to challenge the town as to. Now the real tract is right down through here. If you look, these two lines here, that's the tract. But they did a bait and switch. They baited people who bought here. I was baited by this. Every time I would come down during that almost year it took to build the 3 houses, I was coming down here about once every 3 weeks. I'd come down, my buddy would pick me up, we'd come out here, we'd play around the golf, we'd do the buffet, but this stayed like this for, 9, 10 years? They left this like this for 9 or 10 years. This is the smoking gun. When I bought these lots, they had this all finished out. The tree wasn't there, and every time I would come down, and lots of times my friend would have other friends that would play with us to make a foursome, to make a good foursome out here. A lot of them came from like Phoenix, never been here before, got out and played this wilderness desert course. Well, when we get to this tee box or tee off, this tee box wasn't here. Can you see that long aircraft carrier tee box wasn't there? The tee box was right here. They hadn't built it yet, I don't think. But when we would drive by here, everybody would go, "Hey man, where are your lots?" And I go, "That lot, that lot, that lot." And they go, "God damn, man, you got a golf cart path right to where you live. Man, you're huge. Good going," you know, until I closed the houses. When I closed the houses, and then they left us there. They put all these trees and vegetation. This is before they dug it out. Okay, this is before they had to dig it out. This is what Woody Scouten wrote up. Now, that was 13. Here's 14. 14 is that's the first job they did. That's no longer here. Boy, I wish I had my... Okay. See what happened? In 2014, that's another reason for the $100 fines on these houses right here. Okay, I got fined I'm being fined $100 a day because they had to spend money to redo this twice. Woody Scouten said to dig it out. They dug it out and they put shot rock in there because they were protecting the privacy of these people. These 2 buyers, one from Colorado, the other one from Fremont, Nebraska, are used to wide open spaces. They're not used to having golf carts go by their houses in their bucolic country setting back home. And they don't recognize the duties and the civil responsibilities of, and even the people who are running the golf course and the town and the HOA don't understand the civil responsibility and the highest and best use and the purpose of this tract. This tract got repurposed. Well, you saw what it was with the tree and everything in it. Okay? We'll get back to another slide, but they filled it in with shot rock. They did that because they don't want anybody walking it. These were big chunks of rock. You couldn't walk on them, and you couldn't drive a golf cart on them. But the mistake they made when they did that was they followed the original plan's gradient, and they took it real low. So the thing was graded per the original map. When they did that, they found out we had a huge storm one day, and that storm, when it was done, had eroded all kinds of lines, fingers. It looked like a spider web of fingers because the water was allowed to run at the proper pitch. And it overwhelmed us, and it just eroded everything up. And that's when I invited the town engineer and Ed Kelly. This was about the same time, just about the same time that, because this wasn't in that long. I had that was a very severe storm. We had that severe storm, and because this thing was pitched, what they thought too much, it was allowing too much water on the golf course. And when they saw all this erosion here, they said, man, we can't use that pitch. We have to raise the pitch so the water can't get out. All the water is getting out of track A and running onto the course, and it's going to destroy, if we get another big storm, it might affect the sidewalk, the tee, and everything else. We have to keep the water up here. Well, when they put this in is when I requested that I have a meeting with Woody Scouten, because during that storm that we had, I had a lake back past here and almost out to here, this bush, a lake, and the corner of the patio was underwater. And this lot right here is graded to run backwards. My lot had a berm across it then, and all the water ran backwards. So when Woody Scouten, Phil Marcotte, and coincidentally at the same time I had a who shows up but Ed Kelly. And Ed Kelly later admitted to me, he says that was no accident. We planned to all be there. Well, I brought Woody Scouten right here. And I said, and there was a ring around the tub. All the light stuff that had floated on top of the water, when the water receded, it left a ring around the tub, right out to here. So, this was after Woody had wrote the letter. And they had filled it in. But the water was running through here, but I wanted to know, why am I getting a landlocked lake here? And Woody Scouten said to me in front of Ed Kelly, he says, well, you got 36 hours. If that little lake next to your patio is there in 36 hours, then come and talk to us and we'll look into it. Well, I went to the Buckeye Drainage Manual, Maricopa County Drainage Manual. I got into the books, and the only thing that I could find that said 36 hours on it was a retention basin. And the difference between retention and detention, retention is water dies wherever it lands. That's where it dies, through absorption or evaporation. All right. Detention is where you make a reservoir and you have an outlet, where the water initially, when you have a strong storm, the reservoir initially fills up for the water for something to go, but you have a pipe or something that measures the water flow, that within a few hours or a few minutes you've drained the water out. That's detention. Well, Woody Scouten says, and I said, well, I got to get the water. The golf course purpose is to drain my lot, correct? Whether that language got there, but he understood that I have a right to drain water off my lot on the golf course. And he told me right there in front of Ed Kelly and Phil Marcotte, he said, I'm giving you permission to do whatever you have to do to get the water off your lot. I understand that it's a thing, but he finally admitted after he said the 36-hour rule. After that, he said, well, I'm giving you the permission, more or less. And he said that in front of Ed Kelly. He says, you have a right to do whatever you have to do to get the water off your lot and onto the golf course. That's the, and he didn't say it, but we all understand the purpose of the golf course in any community like this is to be the skid plate in a storm. All right? So that was, and like I said, that was 2014, and we're still not built out much here. All right, we got all this got to be built out, which is built out. All right, this is becoming built out. Okay, we don't know what's going in here, but in that year they put up Goodwill. There's Goodwill. They had just built it. Okay, just built it. And this is, you have Papa John's Pizza. I think Dunkin' Donuts is over here. McDonald's is here. This is a bank right here. But this is Goodwill, and they built that in that year. Okay, now we'll go to 16. And things are filling in. Okay, things are filling in. Now 16, I love this because in 3 years, this is what they did. They came in after our little powwow here, and I was standing. I took all 3 right here where the manhole cover is. This is the manhole cover. I took all 3. I said, would you come over and walk here? And this was filled up with shot rock. And I said to him, how do you expect anybody, this is a walking easement, you got a dog bag dispenser right there. This is supposed to be a walking open easement, okay? And it's filled with shot rock. And I don't want to mess up. If I try to go back, I might mess up, but it might not go back. The computer might not go back to 14. But what I'm saying is, in 13, you saw that it was all filled in. They hadn't dug it out. And then in 14, you saw where they had dug it out and they had put in shot rock. Well, when they saw what I described down here as letting the water out early, they had huge, it went down to here. If you remember, that shot rock went down to here because they had to go down to the level. They followed the original plan. Well, it just eroded everything out. That first storm, when they said, man, we got to put a threshold up here. We can't allow all the water that lands here to run onto the golf course. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig out all the shot rock. That's another reason their retribution against me. They had to dig that out twice because of me. Because of my whistleblowing. I whistle blew on them. I went to and I also got arrested for walking here. I did a civil disobedience. I did a civil rights march through here. I might as well have been wearing a blue, and I was wearing my blue that day, my United or my US Air jacket, so it was blue, and I was doing my blue civil rights, saying, I have a plat map that says I can walk here. I have a plat map that says it's supposed to be a drain. I also have a plat map that says what understood, universally, inherently understood that every access easement onto the courses, onto the plat map, also is purposed for letting emergency fire and rescue vehicles in and out of the parcel. Okay, that didn't happen here. Whatever required, it's an anomaly. Nobody knows why this thing isn't available for us for golf carts, where if I go over here, let's go out. I always make this reference. We'll go over here. If I took you back, I should have, if I took you back every year, you would see that for every year, right up to now, in the present, they've had a 24/7 access easement from this parcel onto the golf course. 24/7, they've never restricted it. Nobody's ever driven rods, steel rods in here. Can you imagine if somebody bought this house right here and says, I'm going to bring my farm with me, all right? I don't want to see golf carts coming this close to my house. They don't do it in Nebraska on my farm, and I don't want them here, so he came out and put 2 rods in here with no reflectors on them or anything. What do you think the outcry would have been from this parcel, where everybody for 20 years has had this access easement onto the golf course? Why do we have this oxymoronic contrast between here? Now, what we have now, and what year was that? That was 15. So 13, you saw 13 where before they ever had to dig it out, that's what it originally was. And then you saw 14 where they filled it up with big boulder shot rock. And now, here's what we're looking at, and what they did this time is, where they had graded all this before, they regraded it again, and they put down a bladder. They put down a bladder all the way out to the threshold. And I watched the gentleman who lived here at the time and the gentleman that lived here at the time stand out here with a transit and tell the young man from Dollycrest, that was the group that did this contract, he had a red vest on, and they were telling him they had a transit. So they had a threshold like height here of the original threshold it was back in 2013. They put it at the same height that was. When they saw all this erosion from having it sloped correctly per the original plan, and they saw all this erosion, they decided, let's give it back the same elevation, the same threshold it had. Now, the problem with that is, right here is about, I'd say 5 to 6 inches lower than this threshold. Before any water can run out of here, it has to fill up this vessel. This is a canal, a shallow canal, a wetlands that keeps water off the golf course. Okay, we'll go up to, what's the next one? We don't have a 16, so we'll go on to 17. Okay. In 17, this is how they redid everything, and they put this tree right here, and they let it grow out of control. Why? Because its canopy restricted golf carts. Its canopy restricted golf carts and pedestrians. And they still haven't put the rocks here. So you had 2 years, last year and this year of, what was this, 2017, I guess, or whatever. I forgot what to think. But there were no rocks, no sign that said, so this was open to golf carts for the year before and for this year. And where, now I think that was 16. That's right, we had 15, 16, no 17, this is 18. Now, look what they've done. They got rocks and a sign there. Right? This guy came in and they still got that tree there. They still got the tree there. Alright? And I just put in these plants. I had done the grading. I had regraded this. I took the berm that had run across here. The berm that had run across here. I had to take out, I paid $3,000 a piece 10 years earlier to landscape these yards and put irrigation for plants. I paid $3,000 a piece, and 10 years later when I found out that they lowered this house 3 inches on purpose, you can see this line right here. This land right here sits about a foot lower than this lot. Everything is high here. It's high here and it runs backwards. Okay? Everything is high here. When I say this is a defensive line right here of high ground, and all the water that comes off this roof runs down here, runs out here, and creates a thing, and you will see it. So what year was that? That was 17. Let's try 19, see what it looks like. Yeah, here we go. This is 19. A year later. That's when this guy came in, put the rods in the ground, says, I want a sign here that says no golf carts. And that's exactly what he got. So, for me going to jail and getting that opened up, and then you saw it was opened up for like 3 years where golf carts could use it, they took it out of service. And the reason they took it out of service was this threshold right here that they had created. You're going to see later. This threshold they had created, when the golf carts were allowed through there, they were compacting the threshold. Every time a golf cart went through, it packed down and compacted the threshold. And they were lowering it, and they were letting the water out early. Here are these two lots, my two lots. That's when I had to pay, first of all, I went out and rented a tractor for $500 for the weekend. And me and another fella scraped as much as we could. I had water levels. So he came in with a tractor and we took this berm. Now the berm still is here because I didn't sell that. I sold that house before I started regrading. So there's a berm that starts right here. And I'll tell you right now that this house right here, where this plant is higher than the patio. They did it on purpose. All the way across. Well, I diffused that booby trap, that landmine, by renting a tractor. When Woody Scouten told me, this was shortly after, Woody Scouten told me, you can do whatever you want to get the water. And he said that in front of Ed Kelly. So Ed Kelly heard it, he was a witness to it, so I ended up getting a tractor. And our first attempt to get this graded properly was to put a bank. We kept where I could see by eye and I could see by my water levels, because whenever we had a storm, before I did the regrading, the water would sit between the houses, and it was landlocked. It couldn't get out. It couldn't get past this berm. This property line along its whole length, and I want to show you, this whole property line at every point between the boundary between the lots and the golf course, at every point coming down this property line, they made it high. They not only made the property line high and they put a lot of dirt here to protect the golf course, but then they put berms across people's backyards so all the water that came off the roofs couldn't get out. as I said, I used to get a landlocked lake from there out to here on a bad storm. Landlocked, couldn't get out. And it was being fed by my neighbor's yard. Okay, that doesn't happen anymore. I put in a dry well at the end. I ran a pipe. I've got two pipes. One coming from the gutters and one coming from a drain. This is a 4-inch white plastic pipe. This is a 3-inch corrugated white pipe from the gutters. I've got the same thing over here. I did the same thing on this side over here for the gutters. I put gutters on the house so no water hits the lot on the backyard. I put gutters all around the house. I put gutters. This one's got gutters that feed the street. This one has gutters that feed the street because they lowered this house 3 inches. They didn't tell me. This house has a permanent lien on it that was put there 20 years ago when a bureaucrat downtown signed a permit allowing the builder to drop this approximately 3 inches. I'll show you later in the film, we'll do the math. But that's what happened. Now let's see if we can learn the next one. 17, let's see, 18. Have we seen this one yet? Let's go up here a little more recent. Okay, that's 19. And there's the rocks and there's the sign. And everybody's really happy. Everybody's so happy. Alright, he got just what he wanted, his own. And I want to put across to you, this guy told a policeman, I'm only here 1 week a month. So for 1 week a month, to keep this guy happy so that he doesn't see any golf carts like back home, the rest of us have to, instead of using this and going this way to the clubhouse, catching the cart path here, we have to go out here to Sundance Parkway, all right, kick everybody off the pedestrian path and then cross over here and come all the way down here to where we could have came out of here. And my big gripe is, ever since that sign went in, not one emergency vehicle or motorized vehicle can get through here. If we have any kind of meltdown out here on the two portals that come in and out of the place, any kind of breakdown there, and it's a traffic jam. But let's go, where are we now? That's 2:19. Let's try to see if this changes. Does this change it at all? Let me see. I'm looking for where the ditch shows up. 22. Here we go. Here's what I want to see. You see that scar right there? This was last year. Every time it rains, this gets a little bigger. And the management drives by this every day. Every time the management plays golf and drives by here, they see this. Okay? It's getting bigger. Every storm we get, it gets bigger. It's a trip fall hazard at the end of this walk.